日本ニュースタイムへようこそ。Hey guys, it's Victor for JNEWS. This is a JNEWS Day in History. 20 years ago in a week today, 1992, October 17th, a 16-year-old Japanese boy got dressed up for Halloween. He was an exchange student and he was going to experience his first American Halloween. He got dressed up like John Travolta from Saturday Night Fever and went off with his American friend to a Halloween party. They made a mistake with the residents and they walked up to the wrong house. It was covered, it had a similar address apparently, covered in Halloween decorations. Knocked on the door. The woman who answered the door peeked through the peephole and for some reason seemed startled by his appearance and took him for some kind of an attacker and called out to her husband, "Get your gun." What happened next was the man walked outside. Hattori, thinking this was the correct place, walked up to the man, and Hattori is a very he's a little guy. He's 130, good-looking young man, 130 pounds. That's what, 60 kilograms or so. Walked up to him. The man said, "Freeze." Hattori took it as please. He mistook the word, and the man shot him in the chest, punctured one of his lungs. Hattori died in the ambulance a few minutes later. And that became one of the most significant moments after I arrived in Japan. I had just arrived 2 months earlier. And of course, this was a big scandal, a tragedy. This is what we call a Ju ni yoru no higeki, a gun tragedy. And anyway, this is I wanted to remember this moment and to tell you this is one of those things that I feel like I should make a series of videos like stuff you should know if you come to Japan. This is stuff you should know. This is stuff that has affected the Japanese psyche. This is the way they see us as Americans. One of the announcers went on to say that how can we say that America is an advanced culture when they solve their problems with guns? This is the act of a barbaric country. And I remember at the moment being kind of embarrassed that this happened because I just arrived in Japan and like a few months later, like one of their high school students gets killed in America. And it was kind of embarrassing. Now, I lived in New York, and I've seen guns, actually, even in New York City. I had a guy pull a gun on me in a taxi. I've seen cops, with guns holding it up to criminals as they arrest them. My father bought a .45 when I was in high school, junior high school, and my mom said, "Either the gun goes or I go." And a week later, he sold the gun. I did get a chance to shoot the gun once. It was kind of fun. And if you ask Japanese, what do you think about guns? They're like, a lot of them answer, "I want to shoot one." Like they want to shoot one, but they don't want them in the society. Like they want to go shoot them somewhere else, not in public, in a safe, enclosed place. So the attitude isn't like, oh, guns are disgusting, despicable. It's just like they just don't belong in society. And I will tell you, after living in New York for so long, coming to Japan, one of the things I do not miss is having to look over my shoulder. Because I remember in New York City, I'm walking down the street in New York City, and I'm always thinking, who's that guy? Who's behind me? I'm always watching out for myself. I was always ready. I mean, you might think it's paranoid, but I drove a taxi as part-time when I was at the university from 5 p.m. to 5 a.m. And I'd come home with a wad full of money, and I didn't want to get robbed, right? I was always wary about who's going to get in the taxi behind me, right? I worked during the summer where there was a serial killer killing taxis off once a week on the weekends. Anyway, even my grandparents from Peru called. They said, "Get Victor to stop working as a taxi driver." So, point being, man, guns make you feel scared. They're supposed to make you feel safe, but I suppose if I had a gun, would I feel safer? I don't know. Someone can still shoot you. And although I've been against guns and I'm for gun control, I can understand how people argue, that hey, only criminals have guns and good guys should be allowed to have guns. And how can you protect yourself if you don't have a gun? So I understand that argument. In the end, it does seem sad that we have to regulate guns because there's crazy people. But the other day there was a gun shooting in what was it, Wisconsin or something, and the guy bought the gun illegally. So is it really going to help, making guns illegal? Of course not. But regulating guns should help. Like you shouldn't have machine guns. You shouldn't have assault weapons available readily. Guns that belong on the battlefield do not belong on the streets of America. Maybe a little handgun, right? But again, you should have licenses, and you should make it much more difficult, and you should increase the penalties for people who sell guns illegally and things like that. But anyway, that's a little off on a different tangent. But in Japan, I do not have that fear. I walk down the street. My brother got rolled in New York City. He fell asleep on the subway, woke up, his watch and wallet were gone. That doesn't happen. I often think, there's so many drunk salarymen. You often think, oh, if I were a criminal, man, I could just go in that guy's pocket and take it. One day I was driving down the street with my girlfriend, and we came across a guy lying in the road with half in the road, and his head was like in the road, and I'm like, hey, this is dangerous. I got out of the car, picked the guy up, took him to the police station, like over my shoulder, right? I walked in the police station. Can you imagine me? I walked in the police station with a guy over my shoulder, and but before doing that, I checked the guy's wallet. He had 50,000 yen, it was like $600, right? Anyway, and I told the cops he has $600 on him, like in case it disappears, going to answer to me. But yeah. So horrible crime. I want you guys to read the Wikipedia page on it. You should know a little bit about Hattori and what happened. Interesting side note: my wife went to junior high school with him and went to the funeral. She knew him. Went to the funeral. Very sad. It was one of those. It was a weird time. Like I remember that everyone in Japan at the time knew the word freeze because Rodney, the guy who shot him, he said freeze, and Hattori thought he said please. And as a result, everyone in the whole country knew that word. And actually, people for years later, even now, people will kind of joke and say, freeze, like stop. And they know what it means because of that incident. So the cynical side of me would say, well, if we want to teach Japan English, we have to create 2,000 more tragedies and associate each one with a new vocabulary word. And the whole country will be fluent. Anyway, interesting side notes is the killer, Rodney, the guy who shot Rodney, he was acquitted. And a lot of Japanese thought that was racist. And a few months later, you can read this on Wikipedia, there was a similar incident. A 17-year-old kid was shot, and the man was not acquitted. So people think that they attribute that disparity or that difference to the fact that he was Asian. And it could be. I mean, we'll never know. But what I was very happy to hear was that the parents of Hattori, the kid's parents, apparently have been hosting American kids as host families for years after that. So every year they invite some American kid or kids. I don't know how many. I don't know the details. We look for the article, but Japan's news is weird. Like they'll erase an article like a few days later. It's only a week old, and the article I saw last week is gone, so I couldn't check the details. But the good news, the interesting news, is that the parents, I guess they don't really hold any grudges against America as a country, which is impressive because you would think, if my kid was killed in America, I'd be like, fuck America, forever. But these parents are better than most. They have, I guess, generous hearts. They, although Rodney was acquitted, he was sued in a civil case and he lost, and he was ordered to pay $600,000, but his insurance covered him for $100,000. They established a fund. The Wikipedia article makes it sound like because of this incident, this helped push through the Bradley Law, which helped limit gun accessibility. But I kind of doubt that. But who knows? What do I know? Anyway, very interesting case. I encourage you to know about it. This is one of those things that all Japanese know. It's called the Hattori Jiken, or incident, the Hattori incident. Nothing else much to say about this except a moment of silence for the poor kid, and be safe wherever you are, especially this Halloween. So you always hear about really screwed up things happening over Halloween. So everyone be safe, have a good Halloween, and take care. I'll see you guys very soon. Bye bye.